All right, I'm gonna be honest. If you haven't yet, check out the last Saiyuki. So the series, it's only 7 chapters in. I guess it's doing really well in Japan. I haven't checked the rankings for this week, but it's been doing really well. I think it's been in like the upper third of Shonen Jump, like rankings as it's come out. And then I don't know if it's really picked up yet overseas, but it's definitely really interesting. So the whole premise of the series, just really quick, it's like if you, I think it was like if you fear enough of like the supernatural and like up to a point, and then it will like you have like a box that kind of like it'll fill up with this energy, and if it gets to a point, it will kind of like break open and it will create like a monster like out of your fears. I'm not going to be able to get the exact description down. It's pretty new. I'm still getting a lot of the series down, but I'm definitely interested. Like I like the main character. He's pretty cool, and his sister. I like both. What's his? I think his name is Ryonosuke, and then his sister Koharu. I think they're both pretty cool. They have kind of like an interesting joint main character position. But I also like that the main character uses this cool. He uses pretty much. I can't remember. I think it's called like a Nyoibo. It's pretty much a power pole. Obviously, power pole. You just think of the dubbed name for Goku stuff. I think Nyoibo is actually what it's named for in the Japanese version as well. Obviously, off for Sun Wukong, Son Goku, his whole version, Journey of the West. And obviously, the whole premise for the series is like, I'll just get to this chapter because the chapter explains it. So there's this whole kind of like godlike character that can pretty much, just think of like a deity that can do all this crazy godlike stuff. And at a point, there's like this whole kind of like premise of the character needs to feel safe from protection in order to know that it's like, I'm trying to remember the exact description, that they're able to feel safe enough that humanity is going to protect them and keep them. They don't need to just kind of unleash their power in order to do everything. But obviously, I'm not going to act like I got it 100% down. Obviously, if you enjoy this series, correct me if I'm wrong on anything here. But I'm obviously enjoying it enough that I'm getting to it. I'm enjoying it, and hopefully eventually by like a couple chapters, I'll have a lot more of the basics of the series down. But this character, this guy that showed up, I already forgot his name a little bit, but he's like the villain. And it turns out that him and Koharu were originally the same character. They were that kind of like deity character. And at some point they split up, and he can feel what she feels, which is kind of interesting a lot, because obviously they were two halves of the same person. And he was going to come and get her whenever she felt that the main character Ryonosuke was going to abandon her, because he wanted to kind of feel that good feeling, that happiness for a while. But he had to come anyway because he knew that Ryonosuke would eventually. He found out he was never going to abandon her, pretty much. And so now he's shown up, and he's ready to take her back, and he's part of this whole group, the Order. I think it's the Order of Chaos or something. Pretty standard, pretty cool name. Nothing too stand out, but I do like the weapon. Oh my god, the weapon in this definitely stands out. The power pole. I'm just gonna call it the power pole. I know it's Nyoibo, but I've got it memorized as power pole. I know the actual name, but I'm gonna call it power pole. I don't care. And it ends up getting a fight, this dude, because both of them have the stabs. Also, it's really cool because obviously the power is you can make it extend and grow, but you can actually like just saw it in half and give it to another person, and then if they can use it, they can just you can just keep making more of them. It's pretty much like an infinite supply, pretty much, which is pretty cool. I actually like that a lot, and you could shrink it down to pretty much like, I don't know, like the size of a battery. Probably not as wide, but like the height of a battery. You could literally put it in your pocket and then pull it out whenever you need to in a fight. But as it's going, Koharu, she kind of has like this whole, like, obviously emotional damage, and she doesn't like getting people involved with all her the hardships that kind of come around being her. She clearly blames herself for bad stuff happening to people around her, which it's pretty sad. Even if she's this. I don't remember how old they said that this deity was, but she looks like she's like 5 or 6, and she's clearly very sensitive about it all. This little girl, and Ryunosuke when she's saying like, go, I'll go with them. I don't want I don't want you to die. I don't want your father to die. And Ryunosuke is like, if going with them would make you happy, go. But I'm your big brother, and I don't want you to lose your family, and neither does Dad. So if you don't want to go and you want to stay here, you don't have to go. And even in 3 months, he's accepted her as his sister, and he wants to protect her. And you get this really nice moment where even against like, she clearly will go with the dude just because to keep them safe, but in reality, she wants to stay with them because she likes being with them, and it's a nice story. I like where it's at already. But that was a really cool part when clearly their emotions connected. And oh my god, this part was actually really cool. This was the part that I think legitimately really caught my interest for the series because, well, overall, and at least enough to like talk about it more and definitely say I'm going to follow this because it was such a cool moment. And like the series itself is interesting. I like the plot and the premise. I like the characters definitely. I think Ryunosuke and Koharu are definitely interesting. They're pretty fun, but the whole aspect, a lot of early shonens definitely catch my eye. Is because obviously there's a ton of battle shonens, and one of the things that will always kind of like get me invested early, because a lot of the early series is they're just kind of like getting you to understand the premise of the series, how the powers work, how the bad guys, but the power of the main character always definitely catches my interest. If it's what catches my interest rather. Like obviously Black Clover, Asta had anti-magic. I hadn't seen that in a main character before. I thought that was really cool. And you have these 6 swords. Well, started out with a sword. But this guy has this cool staff, obviously the power pole, or Nyoibo as it's in reality spelled. But I think that's just cool because usually characters, they'll fight with their fists or a sword. When characters have a kind of standout weapon, it's always interesting. But I did like the fact that he had the staff. But this whole scene near the end of the chapter, when he uses the pole and it shoots out, the dude dodges and then like another staff and grows out of it, and then grows out of that angle, and then he blocks it, the bad guy, and then one kind of comes out of it, curves, grabs onto him, and you see this really cool panel of it just like taking multiple angle shots and just changing direction constantly. And I think that it's so cool to look at, just from a standpoint of thinking like this is what the character's weapon is going to be like. I think is really interesting, as well as when you see back at him and they're talking about how he's able to use it similar to Son Goku, which I think is pretty cool. You're getting a more traditional kind of like style of as they say, Son Goku, because obviously Goku used to have, like Dragon Ball Goku used to have the power pole, but he stopped using it. Sad to see that happen. I always thought that was a really cool thing for him. But it looks like this series, it's going to kind of stick closer to with the idea of, the original Sun Wukong, Son Goku, of having the staff. And I thought that he's already got a power up for him, which is pretty cool. Obviously his hair changed colors. He's got like this glittery effect around him. He's got a little mark on his head. And Koharu is behind him, kind of floating there. Obviously that whole spark between them when she said that she wanted to stay with them caused this power up, probably like gave him some really cool ability, which I think is really, really interesting to start out the series pretty early like this with. So if you haven't yet, definitely check it out. It's only 7 chapters in. You could read it on like Manga Plus or Viz. It's definitely fun so far, and you can get caught up with within like, I don't know, half hour or something. There's only a handful of chapters, like I said, 7. And it's definitely got a premise that is keeping it pretty well centered, but also interesting with a lot of possibilities. Especially the fact that if they can just find somebody to use that could also use the staff, Nyoibo, they can bring him into their crew, cut off a piece of the staff, and bring it and give it to him, and then just have a new person. And there's also a lot of stuff they could do with it, like. If you like cut it up and then made multiple of them and like tied them together, because the main character also plays a lot of baseball, and you have like a bat version, control like each of them as they're extending. There's a lot of cool possibilities with that staff. A lot of simplistic yet unique and complicated styles you can do with it. So, like I said, drop a comment below what you think about the series if you've read it so far, if you've been enjoying it. I've definitely been, like I said, find it very interesting. Definitely a nice start to it. Again, sorry if I got stuff wrong. Again, it's still pretty fresh in my head. I'm happy. I already got some of the names down, which is a good sign. If I'm keeping the names of some characters, paying attention to them enough to really get them memorized. But again, other than that, tell me what you think about it. Other than that, I'd really appreciate if you would thumbs up the video, press the like button and the subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening.